Ruthless Rhymes for Heartless Homes by Colonel D. Streamer, Harry Graham. Ruthless Rhymes for Heartless Homes. Dedicated to P.P., qui connaît son sourire a connu le parfait. I need no comments of the press, no critic's cursory caress, no paragraphs my book to bless, with praise or ban with curses, so long as you, for whom I write, whose single notice I invite, are still sufficiently polite to smile upon my verses. If you should seek for ruthless rhymes in memory of western climes, and for the sake of olden times obtain this new edition, you must not be surprised a bit, nor even deem the act unfit, that I have dedicated it to you without permission. P.T.O. And if you chance to ask me why, it is sufficient I reply that you are you and I am I. To put the matter briefly, that I should dedicate to you can only interest us two. The fact remains then that I do because I want to, chiefly. And if these verses can beguile from those gray eyes of yours a smile, you will have made it well worthwhile to seek your approbation. No further meed of praise they need, but must succeed and do indeed if they but lead you on to read beyond the dedication. Author's preface. And I, the reader, will say that I do not expect this to be perfect. I'm just doing this for funsies and because I like the book. Author's preface. With guilty, conscience-stricken tears, I offer up these rhymes of mine, you children of maturer years, from 17 to 99. A special solace may they be in days of second infancy. The frenzied mother who observes this volume in her offspring's hand, and trembles for the darling's nerves, must please to clearly understand. If baby suffers by and by, the artist is to blame, not I. But should the little brat survive and fatten on the ruthless rhyme, to raise a heartless home and thrive through a successful life of crime, the artist hopes that you will see that I am to be thanked, not he. P.T.O. Fond parent, you whose children are of tender age from 2 to 8, pray keep this little volume far from reach of such, and relegate my verses to an upper shelf, where you may study them yourself. Uncle Joe. An angel bore dear Uncle Joe to rest beyond the stars. I miss him, oh, I miss him so. He had such good cigars. Impetuous Samuel. Sam had spirits naught could check, and today at breakfast he broke his baby sister's neck, so he shan't have jam for tea. Inconsiderate Hannah. Naughty little Hannah said she could make her grandma whistle, so that night inside her bed placed some nettles and a thistle. Though dear grandma quite infirm is, heartless Hannah watched her settle, with her poor old epidermis resting up against a nettle. Suddenly she reached the thistle. My, you should have heard her whistle. A successful plan was Hannah's, but I cannot praise her manners. Aunt Eliza. In the drinking well, which the plumber built her, Aunt Eliza fell. We must buy a filter. Self-sacrifice. Father, chancing to chastise his indignant daughter Sue, said, I hope you realize that this hurts me more than you. Susan straightway ceased to roar. If that's really true, said she, I can stand a good deal more. Pray go on, and don't mind me. La course interrompue. Jean, qui allait à Dijon, il montait en bicyclette, rencontra un gros lion qui se faisait la toilette. Voilà Jean qui tombe à terre, et le lion le digère. Mon Dieu, que c'est embêtant, il me devait 4 francs. Jean had on some clothes of mine, I can almost see them shrinking, washed repeatedly in brine. John, across the broad Atlantic, tried to navigate a bark, but he met an unromantic and extremely hungry shark. John, I blame his childhood's teachers, thought to treat this as a lark, ignorant of how these creatures do delight to bite a bark, said, this animal's a bore, and with a scornful sort of grin, handled an adjacent oar and chucked it underneath the chin. At this unexpected juncture, which he had not reckoned on, Mr. Shark he made a puncture in the bark, and then in John. Sad am I, and sore at thinking, John had on some clothes of mine, I can almost see them shrinking, washed repeatedly in brine. I shall never cease regretting that I lent my hat to him, for I fear a thorough wetting cannot well improve the brim. Oh, to know a shark is browsing, boldly, blandly on my boots, coldly, cruelly carousing on the choicest of my shoots. Creatures I regard with loathing, who can calmly take their fill of one's Jaeger underclothing. Down, my aching heart, be still. The Fond Father. Of baby I was very fond. She'd won her father's heart, so when she fell into the pond, it gave me quite a start. Necessity. Late last night I slew my wife, stretched her on the parquet flooring. I was loath to take her life, but I had to stop her snoring. Unselfishness. All those who see my children say, "What sweet, what kind, what charming elves! They are so thoughtful too, for they are always thinking of themselves." It must be ages since I ceased to wonder which I liked the least, such is their generosity that, when the roof began to fall, they would not share the risk with me, but said, "No, father, take it all." Yet I should love them more, I know, if I did not dislike them so. Scorching John. John, who rode his Dunlop tire o'er the head of sweet Maria, when she writhed in frightful pain, had to blow it out again. Misfortunes never come singly. Making toast at the fireside, nurse fell in the grate and died. And what makes it 10 times worse, all the toast was burned with nurse. The perils of obesity. Yesterday my gun exploded when I thought it wasn't loaded. Near my wife I pressed the trigger, chipped a fragment off her figure. Course I'm sorry and all that, but she shouldn't be so fat. Tender-heartedness. Billy, in one of his nice new sashes, fell in the fire and was burnt to ashes. Now, although the room grows chilly, I haven't the heart to poke poor Billy. Jim, or the deferred luncheon party. When the line he tried to cross, the express ran into Jim. Bitterly I mourn his loss. I was to have lunched with him. Appreciation. Auntie, did you feel no pain falling from that apple tree? Will you do it, please, again? 'Cause my friend here didn't see. Baby in the cauldron fell. See the grief on mother's brow. Mother loved her darling well. Darling's quite hard-boiled by now. Nurse's mistake. Nurse, who peppered baby's face, she mistook it for a muffin, held her tongue and kept her place, laying low and sayin' nuffin. Mother, seeing baby blinded, said, "Oh, nurse, how absent-minded." The stern parent. Father heard his children scream, so he threw them in the stream, saying, as he drowned the third, "Children should be seen, not heard." Bluebeard. Yes, I am Bluebeard, and my name is one that children cannot stand. Yet once I used to be so tame, I'd eat out of a parent's hand. Person's hand, my goodness, sorry. So gentle was I wont to be, a curate might have played with me. People accord me little praise, yet I am not the least alarming. I can recall, in bygone days, a maid once said she thought me charming. She was my friend, no more I vow, and she's in an asylum now. Girls used to clamor for my hand. Girls I refused in simple dozens. I'd said I'd be their brother, and they promised they would be my cousins. One I accepted, more or less, but I've forgotten her address. They worried me like anything by their proposals every day, until at last I had to ring the bell and have them cleared away. I often pondered on the cost of getting them completely lost. To share my somewhat lofty rank was what they panted for like mad. You see, my balance at the bank was not so small, and, I may add, a castle Gothic and immense is my official residence. It overlooks a many a mile of park, of gardens and domains. I'm staying now in lodgings while they're doing up the drains. For they began to give offence at my official residence, and when I entertain at home, I hardly ever fail to please. The upper tens alone may come to join in my research teas. I am a king in every sense at my official residence. My dances on a parquet floor, my royal dinners which consist of 15 courses, sometimes more, are things that are not lightly missed. In fact, I do not spare offence at my official residence. My hospitality to those whom I invite to come and stay is famed. My wine like water flows, exactly like, some people say, but this is mere impertinence at my official residence. When through the streets I walk about, my subjects stand and kiss their hands, raise a refined metallic shout, wave flags and warble tunes on bands, while bunting hangs on airy front, with my commands to let it bunt. When I come home again, of course, retainers are employed to cheer. My paid domestics get quite hoarse, acclaiming me, and you can hear the welkin ringing to the sky. Aye, and let it welk, say I. And yet, in spite of this, there are some persons who, at different times, because I am so popular, accuse me of most awful crimes. A girl once said I was a flirt. Oh my, how the expression hurt. I never flirted in the least, never for very long, I mean. Ask any lady, now deceased, who partner of my life has been. Oh, well, of course sometimes, perhaps, I meet a girl, like other chaps, and if I like her very much, and if she cares for me a bit, where's the harm of look or touch, if neither of us mentions it? It isn't right, I don't suppose, but no one's hurt if no one knows. And if I placed my hand below her chin and raised her face an inch, and then proceeded, well, you know, excuse the vulgarism, to clinch, it would be wrong without a doubt, that is, if anyone found out. But then, remember, life is short, and woman's arts are very long, and sometimes when one didn't ought, one knowingly commits a wrong. Well, speaking for myself, of course, I almost always feel remorse. One should not break one's self too fast of little habits of this sort, which may be definitely classed with gambling or a taste for port. They should be slowly dropped until the heart is subject to the will. I knew a man on 7th Street who, at a very slight expense, by persevering, was completely cured of total abstinence. An altered life he has begun, and takes a horn with anyone. I knew another man whose wife was an inveterate suicide. She daily strove to take her life, and naturally nearly died, but some such system she essayed, and now she's 80 in the shade. Ah, the new leaves I try to turn, but, like so many men in town, I seem, as with regret I learn, merely to turn the corner down, a habit which I fear lack, makes it more easy to turn back. I have been criticized a lot. I venture to inquire what for, because, forsooth, I have not got the instincts of a bachelor. To hear my story, you will find how grossly I have been maligned. I was unlucky with my wives, so are the most of married men. Undoubtedly they lost their lives, of course, but even so, what then? I love them dearly, understand, and I can love, to beat the band. My first was little Emmeline, more beautiful than day was she. Her proud, aristocratic mien was what at once attracted me. I naturally did not know that I should soon dislike her so. But there it was, and you'll infer I had not very long to wait before my red-hot love for her turned to unutterable hate. So, when the state of things I found, I naturally had her drowned. My next was Sarah, sweet but shy, and quite inordinately meek. Yes, even now I wonder why I had her hanged within the week. Perhaps I felt a bit upset, or else she bored me. I forget. Then came Evangeline, my third, and, when I chanced to be away, she, so I subsequently heard, was wont, I deeply grieve to say, with my small retinue to flirt. I strangled her. I hope it hurt. Isabel was, I think, my next, that is, if I remember right. And I was really very vexed to find her hair come off at night. To falsehood I could not connive, and so I had her boiled alive. Then came Sophia. I believe her coiffure was at least her own. Alas, she fancied to deceive her friends by altering its tone. She dyed her locks a flaming red. I suffocated her in bed. Susanna Maud was number 6, but she did not survive a day. Poor Sue, she had no parlor tricks, and hardly anything to say. A little strychnine in her tea finished her off, and I was free. Yet I did not despair, and soon, in spite of failure, started off upon my 7th honeymoon with Jane, but could not stand her cough. 'Twas chronic. Kindness was in vain. I pushed her underneath the train. Well, after her I married Kate, a most unpleasant woman. Oh, I caught her at the garden gate, kissing a man I didn't know, and as that didn't suit me quite, I blew her up with dynamite. Most married men, so sorely tried as this, would have been rather bored. Not I, but chose another bride, and married Ruth. Alas, she snored. I served her just the same as Kate, and so she joined the other 8. My last was Grace, I am not clear. I think she didn't like me much. She used to scream when I came near, and shuddered at my lightest touch. She seemed to wish to keep aloof, and so I threw her off the roof. This is the point I wish to make. From all the wives for whom I grieve, whose lives I had perforce to take, not one complaint did I receive, and no expense was spared to please my spouses at their obsequies. My habits, I would have you know, are perfect as they've always been. You ask if I am good and go to church and keep my fingers clean. I do, I mean to say I am. I have the morals of a lamb. In my domains there is no sin, virtue is rampant all the time, since I so thoughtfully brought in a bill which legalizes crime. Committing things that are not wrong must pall before so very long, and if what you imagine vice is not considered so at all, crime doesn't seem the least bit nice. There's no temptation then to fall, for half the charms of things we do is knowing that we oughtn't to. Believe me, then, I am not bad, though in my youth I had to trek, because I happen to have had some difficulties with a check. What forgery in some might be is absent-mindedness in me. I know that I was much abused, no doubt when I was young and rash, but I should not have been accused of misappropriating cash. I may have sneaked a silver dish. Well, you may search me if you wish. So now you see me, more or less, as I would figure in your thoughts, a trifle given to excess, and prone, perhaps, to vice of sorts, when tempted rather apt to fall, but still a good chap after all. The Cat. Advice to the young. My children, you should imitate the harmless, necessary cat, who eats whatever's on his plate, and doesn't even leave the fat, who never stays in bed too late, or does immoral things like that. Instead of saying shan't or bosh, he'll sit and wash and wash and wash. When shadows fall and lights grow dim, he sits beneath the kitchen stair, regardless as to life and limb. A simple couch he chooses there, and if you tumble over him, he simply loves to hear you swear. And while bad language you prefer, he'll sit and purr and purr and purr. The children's don't. Don't tell Papa his nose is red as any rosebud or geranium. Forbear to eye his hairless head, or criticize his coot-like cranium. His years of sorrow and of care have made his head come through his hair. Don't give your endless skin a pig, wherein that animal may build a sufficient nest, the Sunday wig of poor, dear, dull, deaf Aunt Matilda. Oh, don't tie strings across her path, or empty beetles in her bath. Don't ask your uncle why he's fat, avoid upon his toe joints treading. Don't hide a hedgehog in his hat, or bury bushes in his bedding. He will not see the slightest port, and pepper put into his port. Don't pull away the cherished chair on which Mamma intended sitting, nor yet prepare her session there by setting on the seat her knitting. Pause ere you hurt her spine, I pray, that is a game that two can play. My children, never, never steal. To know their offspring is a thief will often make a father feel annoyed and cause a mother grief. So never steal, but when you do, make sure there's no one watching you. Perhaps you have a turn for what is known as misappropriation. Attraction this has doubtless got for persons of a certain station, but prevalent 'twill never be among the aristocracy. Of course, suppose you want a thing, the owner's absent, and you borrow a ruby ring. You mean to bring your friend his trinket back tomorrow. Meanwhile you have the stones reset, lest he forget. And if some rude detective's hand should find beneath your cloak a roll of muslin or a cruet stand that's labeled Hotel Metropole, with kindly smile you hand them back, a harmless kleptomaniac. Don't tell a lie. Some men I've known commit the most appalling acts because they happen to be prone to an economy of facts. And if to lie is bad, no doubt, 'tis even worse to get found out. Don't take the life of any one, however horrid he may be. That sort of thing is never done, not in the best society, or even parricide is thought a most unfilial kind of sport. Among the upper 10 today, it is considered want of tact to slay one's kith and kin, and may be classed as an unfriendly act. Oh yes, of course I know that this is merely public prejudice, but ever since the world began, however well meant his motives are, the man who slays his fellow man is never really popular, whether he sins from love of crime or merely just to pass the time. Envoy. Speed, ruthless rhymes, throughout the land, disperse yourselves with patient zeal. Go, perch upon the critic's hand, just after he has had a meal, but should he still unkindly be, unperch and hasten back to me. And, wheresoever you may roam, remember the secluded shelf, where, sitting in his heartless home, the author chortles to himself. There in the distant by and by, you still may flutter back to die. I don't know why I read this, but somebody told me I should try reading an audiobook, so here you go, random person, I made this for you.